in him. Let's bring in Angelo Cataldi. By the way, I've been on that blog all day long, and I've been watching the blog. Don't forget the book. It's also out in audio. I love the blog. You go over everything. You categorize it. It's really easy to maneuver around, folks. So, hey, just no question about it. That's absolutely awesome. Welcome, Angelo. I appreciate you doing it.
1 second. I'm down the shore, and I look like I have more of a tan than I do. Hon, could you try this other light here?
Hey, you look really Sicilian. What are you talking about?
This is the top. I can't believe. There you go. Wait a minute. It's kind of good. I'm sorry. Try this light here.
No, you look good. You look good.
That's a little better. Thank you, honey. Yeah, that's juicy stuff there, Dan. Wow, that's some stuff. You know, it's totally believable to me. But what it raises immediate thoughts to me are, what went on in the meetings between Sirianni and the upstairs guys, you know, Jeff Lurie and Howie Roseman? Did it come up in their conversations? And did anyone bother to ask Brian Johnson before he went to the Commanders how much of it was you, how much of it was him? Because it has always been my belief that Sirianni doesn't know what he's doing. I got to interview him for 3 years. He doesn't know what he's doing. You know,
you agree.
Dan, you know this. You talk to somebody over a period of time, and you pick up pretty quickly whether the guy really knows what's going on or whether he's giving you a lot of BS. Well, Nick, for 3 years, gave me full BS. And last year was worse than those. He doubled down on the BS. So I actually believe Johnson, although Johnson has a vested interest in tweaking this to make it look like it wasn't his fault. But how would you bring, if this exposes the fact that Sirianni and Hurts are not on the same page? Does it look that way watching those games? How do you bring Sirianni back? What are you doing? You think suddenly you can bring another guy and tell Sirianni, don't talk to Hurts? How are you going to make that work?
You can't make that work. And that led to this too, Angelo. I said this to, I'm like, John Harbaugh today, whether he believes it or not, came out when they're getting ready to go to camp tomorrow for the veterans to show up. The rookie's already there in Baltimore. He was like this. I love this guy has a chance to be the greatest player in the history of the NFL at quarterback. He is the greatest thing. I got to tell you, I think this guy. Now, does John Harbaugh really believe that? Probably not. But what he does do is he's giving his quarterback, that's coach lesson 101. Hey, I'm with you, kid. I'm on your side. Does Jalen Hurts need to endorse in any way Nick Sirianni? Because you know why? In the 3 years he's been there, Jalen has never, unless I missed it, Angelo, I've never heard him go, hey, that's my guy. I love playing for the guy.
Never. And here's the thing. I've always seen this more from Hurts' side than Sirianni's side, because I go in knowing Sirianni doesn't really know that much. And Hurts has been hindered by the presence of Sirianni, in my estimation. Never more so than toward the end where they couldn't pick up a blitz. And Sirianni, if he really did have that much to say about those play calls at the end of the season, which I'm going to buy, he never fixed it. And he's back. Who brings back a coach who's not on the same page with the franchise quarterback? Whoever does that. It's nonsense.
I don't get it. And do you believe this went on? And you said something about a month and a half ago that was maybe to the point right now. I'll tell you, Angelo, a lot of the things you say, end up coming to be to the forefront here. Because you said this guy's frustration one day is just going to come to a head where he goes, I'm out of here. Do you think in this offseason, he went to them and said, hey, look, it was very frustrating last year having him involved in the play calling. And that's why this year, when he was asked that question at that press conference, and he said, you'll have to ask him what his role is, because he didn't really know what the role was. But now that we hear Brian Johnson saying this guy was involved in the play calling and it was frustrating for all of us, Do you think he went to the management and said, Nick's got to not be involved in this?
Well, I have to believe during that period where they weren't sure what to do with Nick, that they consulted the franchise quarterback. And I know that Hertz would have been honest with them. And Hertz would have said to them, he wasn't giving me the best chance to be successful. I guarantee you that was going on. But they still brought him back. And the thing is, Hertz's career is not on the line here. Sirianni's is. So my guess, I've been trying to imagine this, right? Because here's the way the sequence. So you got to put everything in sequence. So the Eagles flop in Tampa. The season's over. It's a debacle, right? Lurie stops to purchase his yacht in St. Martin, right? Because, hey, life has priorities, right? He gets the yacht. Now he comes back and he goes to Howie. What are we going to do about Sirianni? He didn't figure any of that out. Let's bring him in. Sirianni sits down with them, Danny, and he goes, yeah, it wasn't my fault. There was a lot of stuff going. Johnson was terrible, and the other guy was. We had the wrong coordinators, and they went, well, we're not going to give you any power if we keep you here. You're just going to be the CEO thing, which is just figurehead. That's what it means, right? And Sirianni at that point agreed to everything he was asked to agree to, down to, washing Lurie's car, right? Like polishing Howie's shoes, right? Sirianni, rather than walk out of there losing a job, knowing he would not get another head coaching job, regardless of that record. People in football know the truth about Sirianni. Even the numbers do not tell the story of Nick Sirianni. And Sirianni basically gave it all, pushed it all in and went, yes, 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 whatever you need, I'll do it. Yes. And now basically, you know what he's doing? They're going to open trading camp the next day. He's going to come out and he's going to talk to company line and he's just going to give you nothing and he's going to have no power. You will never, in the annals of Philadelphia sports, Dan, you will never see a coach or a manager have less authority over the team than Nick Sirianni does in 2024 with the Eagles. I've been here long enough to make that statement. He has little to no say on what's going on with that football team.
It's crazy. I look at a guy, and I know very well, and John Tortorella, and then I look at a guy like that. I mean, you couldn't talk about the moon and the sun any more different than those two guys. But you bring up an interesting point again, too, Angelo. Do you think that was the crossroad conversation that when Doug was that proposition went to Doug, hey, Press Taylor and all those guys that you want, this is not going to happen here. This is where we're going. Right. And the ego of Doug got him fired. And the politician in Sirianni kept his job because he went okay. And that's why that dynamic went down that way, is because they were looking for what you just said. Doug was not going to go down. He was more of a Tortorella guy when it came to his coaching staff. And he said this, you guys want to throw Brian Johnson and Desai under the bus? So be it. I'll go with it to keep my gig. That's not a head coach.
No doubt. But Dan, I don't like the word ego. I like the word self-respect.
Okay.
Doug Peterson won a championship in Philadelphia. Nobody else won a Super Bowl ever. And Doug Peterson was being told that these guys above him were going to decide who he was working with. 2 years after he had a parade. And he went, no, I know who can coach it, who can't. You do your job, I'll do mine. And they said, no, we want to do your job too. You're fired. Let's bring in a lapdog. And sure enough, this is what you're seeing right now with this story and the Howard Eskin story is not that different. The Philadelphia Eagles, the men who run it, Lurie and Roseman, prefer to be around people who kiss their ass day and night at their beck and call. And just the way Sirianni will do whatever he's told now to save his career, Eskin hasn't been released yet from his situation because the Eagles are hoping his story blows over and they can bring back their trained lapdog for another season. So what's going on here? It's surrounding yourself with yes men, right? And that's what they're doing. And Dan, you know this better than I do. You know the inner works of the NFL. That is not a recipe for success.
I think it's why they're 1-3 instead of 3-1 in Super Bowls.
Yeah.
I personally think that and I say this, Angelo, that the organization is right here. They do 90% of the things to get you to where you need to be, and they do the final 10% to undermine the things that they need to get done.
It's great. It's so perfectly said. Yes, Roseman puts a good team together. Roseman knows how to get good players to his roster. Lurie funds it. Lurie gets that. That part of it, they're doing really well.
It's excellent.
But the other 10% basically unravels the other 90%. It's brilliantly said. You're 100% right. That's what's going on. And they have not gotten past it. You know, at some point, Lurie's got to say to himself, you know what? I won that one championship. I need to bring on to my organization some people who don't kiss my ass every second. Some people who give me the hard, cold truth, even when I was wrong, when it was me, when the owner of the team was wrong. I need somebody to tell me that. That's never going to happen because he's not by nature secure enough to surround himself with people who tell him when he's wrong.
Angelo, I'm going to ask probably the easiest question I've ever asked, but yet maybe the hardest answer. That is there anything that Howie Roseman can do to be fired?
No. And
wow, nothing?
I'm going to tell you something, Dan.
Damn.
The more I look at it, you know what you said, I've been right lately. If I've been right as much as you said, right?
Yeah.
Then I've been right a lot more after my career in broadcasting because I was wrong a lot when I was a WIP. All right. But Dan, I got to tell you something. Lurie's a bigger problem than Roseman. Roseman, with the right guy above him, a lot of what Roseman does is really good. Managing that cap, nobody's better at it.
Great.
Every year at the end of the year, whether you love him or hate him, he usually has an off season that you can embrace and say, you know what, he's getting a lot of things right here. But Lurie is just, Roseman could never tell Lurie he's wrong, and he won't. Bannon is gone. Joe Bannon, the previous president, is gone, probably because he eventually did. And you can't do that around Jeff Lurie. Jeff Lurie has lived the most blessed life you could ever have. I will use my favorite quote again. He was born on third base and thinks he hit a triple. And from that moment to this one, he embraces no dissent. He does not ever work. What the normal world is you hear other people's dissenting opinions and then make a decision. There are no dissenting opinions on the Philadelphia Eagles because Jeff Lurie won't tolerate it. Howie has never told him he was wrong, not one time.
And again, there's part of the 10% that gets in the way. The one thing that I love about Bob Kraft, and I know that Jeffrey Lurie tries to model himself after Bob Kraft, the way he runs that organization. He even tried buying the Patriots after Victor Kiam. So I would make this point to you that, you know, anytime that Kraft needed to get in the way, he got in the way with the Garoppolo and the Brady thing, or he got in the way of the Deflategate. He had to resolve those issues, but he was never involved in the personnel decisions or any kind of say whatsoever with the coaching staff. And you got an owner that sits in there that's making decisions on the hiring of assistant coaches. So I say this to you, the only job that I can see that Nick has is the worst job that he's qualified for. That's dealing with the media.
Yeah, he's gonna. Well, you'll start hearing it when they open camp. He will.
He's horrible in front of a mic.
He's bad at it, but everything else they took away.
Right.
And the only reason.
Am I right, Angelo? That's
Right.
the only job I can come to.
I'm going to tell you exactly why Nick Sirianni's still there. It's got nothing to do with anything except Jeff Lurie does not want to say he was wrong. That's all it is. He had to, you know how he has these dog and pony shows every time he's bringing in a new coach. We had a 19-hour interview, right? Oh my God. And we had all these people. It was so elaborate. We left no stone unturned. All this
Such
garbage,
bullshit.
right? And, and then he always ends up picking the guy with the least experience who will give him the least negative feedback. And he does. So after 3-4 years, he doesn't want to cash out yet. He says, "No, the record's good. All this, Nick will be fine. We just won't have him actually do anything. He could just talk to the media. We don't give a damn what he says to the media. He's not going to say anything. He's scared. What is he going to say?" And then the team will finish with 5 victories. 5. That's it. 5.
So you're still predicting 5 wins.
5, Dan, the thing that is amusing me the most leading into training camp is the insane optimism of the media. I went to the final show of Glenn Macnow. I got into a nice little give and take with Ike Reese, the afternoon guy. And Ike Reese was an Eagle. He knows football.
He does.
And I said, "Ike, how many wins?" Big smile. 12. I got him at 12-5. And I said, "That's interesting. I also have a 12-5. The other way around." And he looked at me.
He probably blew
And
up.
I said to him, "You lost Jason Kelsey. You lost Fletcher Cox. You lost Hassan Reddick. And you're winning 12 games after the way you finished last season. What are you smoking? I need to get some." It's not possible. It's not possible. So I have just watched this love fest knowing how quickly they will turn when they lose the opener, which, by the way, they will lose the opening game.
Yeah, they're going to lose to the Packers.
They're going to lose the opening game in Brazil. And then it's like all these guys that predicted 12 wins, they all have amnesia. Now they'll tell you all the reasons they do the Eagles weren't going to be that good. They're not going to have a good year because Nick Sirianni is still there and they have a dysfunctional model. You cannot have a model that works with 2 new coordinators who are okay but not great and a head coach with no say. It's not going to work. Not going to work. And it's going to drive Jalen Hurts nuts.
Last couple questions for you. I've got to ask the question, why is Howard Eskin not been fired?
It's all speculation. I'll say this. It's 3 weeks now, and he has not spoken.
Well, the longer it goes, you think the job is safer.
Well, they're hoping, and you've had all this political turmoil with Biden and Trump. That could take some of the spotlight away and let things cool down.
Yeah.
If the Eagles said today, "No, we've seen the tape. There is a tape. We've seen the tape. We will not employ somebody who is trying to do that, and we will not allow him on a sideline. His career's over." They haven't done that, and they haven't done. Why wouldn't they do it? They're Jeff Lurie. If he's anything, he's a feminist. He's a real protector of women's rights. He's great on those kind of issues, but he's got not a peep. And Howard has gone underground, and he hasn't been suspended, but nobody's heard his voice in over 3 weeks. My guess is, just a guess, Eagles are waiting to see if they can bring him back. Because the Eagles will decide his fate. His 2 hours a week on WIP at Saturday morning, it doesn't amount to enough. It's not an issue. The issue is whether or not he can join the crew, go on the road with the team, be exposed to fans right behind him on the sideline, and whether that won't turn into a distraction. Plus, any negative feedback from the fact that he's got allegations of sexual harassment. It's a lot to deal with for somebody who has a minor role.
Do you think the Eagles are controlling the media right now because they're really good at it? Bob does an amazing job with his henchmen of being able to direct a narrative because, like you said, with the assassination attempt, Biden last week and here this previous weekend resigning, you've got so much more going on. Do you think he is on the sidelines for the first exhibition game against the Ravens?
Well, that's what they're trying to figure out. And right now, I'd say that they would probably try it. But keep in mind, there's only so much of the narrative you can control when there's video. You understand? The video is there.
Why
Somebody,
haven't the Phillies released it?
because the Phillies want to get as far away from this story as they can.
Is it the relationship with WIP also?
Oh, they have a relationship with WIP, but I don't think they don't have the same philosophy at the Eagles. Or they're not as controlling as the Eagles are in terms of the media, not even close. But I think right now at this point, um, uh, somebody's got the video. If the video comes out, it's over. So when you start to present a narrative that it wasn't that terrible or whatever he did was, a misunderstanding, and then the video comes out, you look like an idiot.
But wouldn't you want that video out to vindicate you?
Well, I don't think the video will vindicate.
Okay,
If
so
the, if
then
the,
again,
if the
if there is
video
a
did
video, which I believe there, yeah, every
yeah,
section in a ballpark because of lawsuits and such, those teams are very cognizant of how people conduct themselves. So of course there's cameras on it, and if there's a video, I mean, it's more of an indictment versus a validate of what this could possibly be, and that makes them accountable, the Phillies and WIP, if there is a video.
it is. I could tell you unequivocally there is a video. All right, because I've heard it now from 5 or 6 people who would know, and they have all said there is a video. None of them have seen the video, but there is a video out of whatever happened. I have no idea what happened. I can't even speculate, but I could tell you that it was incriminating enough that that Odyssey, the company that owns WIP, engineered a ban of their own employee from a stadium. So something's on the video that they thought was incriminating.
Do you think this is a behind the scenes suspension? Him not
Well,
being on the
that's
air?
sure what it looks like, Dan. It's almost a month.
Yeah,
He hasn't been on the air.
yeah,
They never announced the suspension.
right.
I mean, I was there 33 years. I don't recall Howard ever being off the air this long. So I don't know. That's the point. When you're a media outlet, you need to be upfront with everyone all the time because you're asking them to be upfront with you. And I don't feel like they've done that. I feel like everybody is hiding, hoping this thing goes away. And the Eagles are there saying, not yet, not yet. Let's see. Maybe we can bring them back. We're still trying to figure that out. That's the way I'm reading it, but I'm down the shore. I'm not, look,
Hey,
what do I, maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe
no,
my streak of being right on your show is ending, Danny. I don't
no
know.
way. No way. 2 last ones. I want to sneak them in off your blog.
I got to do something about this light. I feel so bad.
You look great. I
I
think
do
you look
not
great.
have melanoma, people. I have not been in the sun 12 hours a day.
I think you look like Caesar right now. We're good. Hey, I'm going off your blog here. Why do you think the Phillies have been lucky?
Oh, they have been lucky. Look at the schedule. Look at that. I mean, they ended the first half of the season before the All-Star break and lost 2 out of 3 to a bad Oakland team. They went to Pittsburgh, those 2 out of 3 to a mediocre Pittsburgh team. They other than the fact that they lost Real Muto for a while, these other teams, Atlanta has been decimated by injury. I mean, decimated. The Dodgers, when the Phillies played the Dodgers, 6 of their starters were hurt. The Phillies have not. Now, look, I'm not blaming them for that. They must have a good medical team that they have kept these players pretty much. And then they lost a couple. They lost Hopper. They lost the leadoff guy. They did it, and they came right back after 10 days. Yeah, they came right back after 10 days. And it's like, well, you know what? It's working out for them right now. That's what you need to win it all. But I'm not buying in on Christopher Sanchez. Is he going to do that all year?
No way.
I mean, Ranger Suarez is starting to come back to earth some. Nola, I've always thought is mediocre. I've never really been bought into him. Wheeler's terrific. Hopefully at 33 he could stay healthy.
Nola's streaking.
Right? I mean, but they got the back end of their bullpen is not good right now. I don't trust Alvarado, and their manager has a guy Hoffman come in and in the 8th inning, blow away the Pirates, I got to bring Alvarado in then the ninth. No, that's not the way I would manage. If I got a guy who's pitching that well, he's pitching the ninth inning, especially when I don't know who my closer is. There are still holes there.
Yeah.
But Dave Dombrowski is a great GM. And with a week to go before the trade deadline, something tells me he's going to make a couple of really strong moves that are going to put him in a great spot. They got a shot to do it, but right now, they got to start winning those big games in the playoffs.
Final question for you. You bring up Dave Dombrowski, and I think I've told you this before. When I was down in South Florida, I got a chance to know Dave when he was running with Larry Feinfest, the Marlins, and all the talent that he would bring. And I knew him when he went up to Detroit and obviously Boston as well, and now in Philly. I think Theo Epstein, him, a couple other guys, maybe Andrew Friedman out with the Dodgers. You're talking about some of the greatest general managers in all of baseball. But do you think these two guys get too much love, Howie Roseman and Dave Dombrowski? I personally think Dave, the roses he gets, he deserves. Howie, for me, Angelo, when I look at those two guys, and I look at Dave Dombrowski and I look at Howie Roseman, why don't I see the same guy? I mean, I just don't see.
Wow.
I look at Dave and I go, that guy, like you said, he's going to find a way to make it happen. But when I look at Howie, I'm like, he's going to angle his way to make something happen.
It's a great read. Dombrowski works for John Middleton. John Middleton is not out shopping for yachts after his team gets eliminated. All right. John Middleton is a kind of a regular guy, even though he's a billionaire. He's a much more approachable guy who's much more willing to hear dissent so Dombrowski's job's a heck of a lot easier. But I said this in my blog the last time. The guy who's really got my applause right now is neither of those GM. It's Daryl Morey, because Daryl Morey, I don't know if it's going to work. Paul George, maybe, who knows? Daryl Morey looked at a situation and he went, Embiid's 32. I got the other guy, Max, he's young, but Embiid's the cornerstone of my franchise. I got to go all in. And he put it all in the middle. And he went, here, if this doesn't work, the process didn't work, we're screwed. He did it. He had a great offseason. He went out and did. From my perspective, that's what wins my respect, that a guy said, hey, we're going to do this. Whatever we could do, we're going to do. And he did it. Dombrowski will do similar in the week before the trade deadline. And Roseman's got the wherewithal to do it, but he's got an owner he has to nursemaid. And it's a lot harder when you have Jeff Lurie there saying, well, am I still the smartest man you've ever met, Howie? Of course you are, Jeff. Who else would even be in the running?
Oh,
that's
my
the
God.
problem.
Hey, I love you. You're wonderful, man. You have a really great decision making. Hey, do you think I could put $35 million in dead cap money getting rid of Wentz? Thank you. You're the best. I love you. Holy cow! You mean you've got a brown nose guy to get what you want?
Yep. And you know what? I'll say this: Howie's good at it.
So you're telling me he's a professional brown noser? That's how he gets what he wants.
There are a lot of brown nosers in that organization, Dan. A lot of brown nosers. Woo! That's it. All over the place. That's how you win the support of the owner.
Hey, Angelo, great stuff, man. Hey, by the way, the blog is great. It's easy to navigate through. Tell the folks how they could get there, because you write. How many posts do you put up there, and how many columns do you
try to put one up every week to 10 days whenever I see something that I got to emote about. And sometimes I put a whole bunch of stuff in there. It's AngeloCataldi.com. Real simple. And you can still order the book there, or the audio book, or whatever else you need. That's called The Bible on the Dan Sileo Show. The Bible.
That's exactly correct. Angelo, one last one. When you write that blog, I noticed this. I see your old style because I went back and read some of your columns in the Inquirer. Did you enjoy being on the radio more, or did you enjoy writing those columns early in your career at the Inquirer? Because I'll tell you what, when you were at the Inquirer, you had a flair of the kind of like talking like you were on the radio. And when you read those columns, you were like this. Funny. When I listen to them now, it sounds like his columns.
Well, here's the thing. All right. When I was writing, I loved the writing. I was trained to do that. Then I went into radio and I had a lot of fun doing that. I said, well, this is a lot more fun. Then I wrote a book about the radio, which combined the two. And I realized writing's my passion. Writing was the thing I loved the most. But radio paid a lot more bills than the writing did. And you know what? I got my own salary cap.
Hey, that's right, baby. I got it. Thank you so, Angelo. It's always great to have you on. Make sure you get the book. It's in audio. Yeah. By the way, he looks good. Okay, he's on Jeffrey.
No, I got to do something about this. This is bad
right now on Jeffrey Lurie's yacht.
I'm bringing in more lights for the next one. Man, take care, buddy.
Thank you, my friend.
Be good.
You got it. The great Angelo Cataldi. We really appreciate him doing that. By the way, we're going to sneak Xander in, and then Gary Cobb is going to join us at 4:30. I want to get Xander's takes because I heard some great stuff with Jeff Kerr. Let's take a timeout. Please do me a favor. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.